Hello and welcome to The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 23rd of May, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter Burns.
Yes, you are.
And the editorial director at CNET, whose food takes are good, it's Mark Serrell.
Yes, they're so good. They're so good. Thank you. Thanks for your support.
No worries. Well, so I should clarify what I'm supporting, because normally a lot of the people that we have on the show as guests are Twitch streamers, so I tend to just steal their Twitch bio. You're not a Twitch streamer, but you are an avid Hellscape Twitter user. And so I stole your Twitter bio, which I saw this morning was updated to, "This is where I come to cry." So I need to know about the crying, and I need to know which food takes we are sort of like tacitly supporting.
Where I come to cry, I don't know. I think I just stole that from Milhouse from The Simpsons. That's that reference. The food takes. Everyone seems to hate my food takes, even though my food takes are almost all 100% accurate. But the one that people are most pissed off about is, I think fairy bread is an abomination. When I first arrived in Australia, I couldn't believe that they fed children bread with butter and then sprinkles on top of it. Like at birthday parties of all places, this is a time for celebration. And you're feeding your kids.
If it's not stuffed inside the bladder of an animal, do we want it?
No, I agree. I'm with you. I'm a sausage guy, big sausage guy. Fairy bread is just, it's. I don't get it, man.
So I actually totally agree with you on this one.
Same.
It was my son's birthday last week. We had his party on Saturday. We made fairy bread because it's kind of like expected to what happened. We had this phenomenal spread of food. Like my partner went above and beyond with everything. And fairy bread just seems like this thing of like, it doesn't really taste like anything. Like it's, and also to make good fairy bread, you can't use good bread. You have to use shitty white bread.
Yes,
so it's like shitty white bread with butter. It's not toast, it's just like
sugar
bread with
butter, sugar.
Yeah. Sugar. And you've got like if you want something sweet, like you've got fucking Nutella is sitting there. Nutella is sitting there going, why are you not making Nutella bread for everybody?
Seriously, man, thank you for this. I feel like I'm going insane. And do you know what the worst part of it is? One of my friends, Ray Johnston, she was like, do you hate poor people? Do you hate poor people? This is what poor people give their kids and I was like, man, they took it to a whole nother dimension, and I had nothing I had no answer for it. So that's it's a rough ride.
But like I could make you something that costs less than fairy bread. Here's what's better. Toast the bread and put butter on it, and that's it. Give that to kids. Yeah. That tastes better than fairy bread.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Right, that's a good answer.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm glad that we are supporting these food takes, because these food takes are correct. We are very excited to have you on the show. I mentioned your editorial director, Tina. I did not mention that you have broken a rule of yours to appear on this podcast. So thank you very much. You normally don't do these kinds of shows, do you?
I don't. Look, there's a number of reasons I don't like to do podcasts. Probably number one is like my overwhelmingly broad Scottish accent. That's problem number one.
We do have closed captions on as well, so I wonder how they go.
Oh my god! It's funny because I just recently did a podcast that I broke my rule before to do a podcast, actually on the ABC of all places, and it was a rough ride, man. It was a rough ride. I really and I told everyone in a group chat, I was like, I'm never doing a podcast again. And then you guys messaged me, and I was like, crap, all right, I guess. Can I swear on this? Actually, can I swear on this?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
please do.
Yeah.
So I was like,
please make a point of swearing.
I need to do this podcast with people that I like, so yeah.
I knew I loved you from the moment I met you, but when we start talking Halo and Dark Souls, that's when I'm like, all right, Serrell's is the man.
I feel the same way about all you guys, actually, so yeah, thanks.
And particularly the fairy bread thing now. So you're editorial director at CNET, but you do a lot of gaming as well. Can you tell us a little bit about like the kinds of games that you like to play and what you're playing at the moment?
Oh man, look. So I was editor of Kotaku Australia for a long time, and I used to edit heaps of games magazines before. Now that I have kids, it's kind of weird. I still play heaps of games, but I'm also trying to set this example of my kids. They shouldn't play games, you know. Like I don't want my kids to play games. So it's kind of this weird thing where I've become my own parents, and I'm starting to hate games now. But I still
self-loathing.
Yeah, massive self-loathing. But yeah, playing a lot of Elden Ring right now. I played heaps of Halo. I tend to, because of my dad now, I tend to gravitate towards those short 2 to 3 hour games that you can knock over in a night.
Totally.
I really loved Death's Door. That's the game that was probably my favorite game last year. This year has just been incredibly dominated by Elden Ring because it's so massive. And I just can't find the time to play anything else. I was really disappointed by the way Halo sort of fizzled off a bit because I thought I had such a promise.
Still there, man.
I played heaps of that. And what else have we played? I've been playing Tunic. Tunic kicks ass. I play a lot of games on Game Pass as well now.
Yeah. I like how you're like, I'm trying to set an example for my kids not play video games. In the meantime, it's like, Daddy, why have you been playing the same game for 130 hours?
And there's always the risk as well that your kids can ruin your save.
Totally. Yeah.
Last night I turned on Elden Ring, and I've got, just for context, I'm probably 60 or 70 hours deep in Elden Ring, close to the end, I guess. And the save just wouldn't load. It wouldn't load. It was like save can't load. I was like, what the fuck have these kids done? I was about to wake their ass up, like drag them in the head by the feet and start swinging them against the wall, like but thankfully the save loaded.
Like you are an Elden Ring boss, like stomp in and like swing them out.
For their safety and their survival, the game loaded, so my kids are still alive, thankfully.
Good, lovely, good. There will be an age. My kids are not old enough to start figuring out how to use that stuff themselves, but they're gonna get their sticky little fingers in that stuff. So that's gonna be.
They break everything. They break everything. And the Nintendo Switch, forget about it. I've got like 10 Nintendo Switch controllers, the Joy-Cons, and I think maybe 1.5 of them work. Like it's crazy, man. I could go on that.
I think that's probably like the standard percentage of working Joy-Cons straight out of Nintendo anyway, isn't it? So you're not doing too bad.
Yeah,
that's not the kids. That's just Nintendo. Well, it is a pleasure to have you on, my friend. An absolute thrill. And so, Pete, we should move on with this because the news is not going to break itself. The Backup is presented by one of our top Stitch patrons and the best evil person we know, whichever fuckwit started the cheer at the end of the Liverpool game to just rile everybody up. You, sir, are an absolute dick. Sorry, I mean Evil Spy Boy. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat because thanks for your generous Patreon support. Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the backup, and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students around the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. Nightbot has a link in chat right now for your convenience, and also head to tasteofmultifish.com for more about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities. All right, let's back it up and look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of The Backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. Serals, please start us off with the story that made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big story.
Yeah, I mean, the ugly Sonic in the Chip and Dale movie has blown my mind. I haven't watched the movie yet, just for context, but I have watched the part where ugly Sonic is in the movie. So for context, Chip and Dale is a movie that just came out on Disney Plus, right? And Ugly Sonic is Ugly Sonic. He's the Sonic that never made it to the actual Sonic movie because everyone lost their shit when they unveiled Sonic and his horrific, like, bizarre fucking teeth. They've kind of put him in this movie as like a real thing. It's kind of this bizarre crossover universe thing, but they've put him as one of those like kind of washed up celebrities and conventions that try and sell posters, and it's kind of like an old WWE wrestler, like Virgil, like Virgil going to like. So I just think it's such a crazy move, and if you look on the internet, you'll find the clip. It's fantastic. It's just, I don't know. To me, it's just this crazy like feedback loop of internet discourse like being brought into movies for some reason. It's just really wild and interesting and unique.
It totally is. And like, I haven't seen the film yet either, but I saw the trailer and I believe the premise is like about washed up animated characters like trying to find new life in a world that moves really quickly.
Oh wow.
And
so
it's really prescient that this character like appears in the film. Like, I don't know how, I mean, the model obviously existed at one point, but I don't know how they got it into this film so quickly. It feels like the turnaround is incredible. To write a scene around this character, they would have been making Chip and Dale well and truly before that internet controversy with the, you know, the time it takes to make an animated film.
And also the rights, like Paramount made Sonic, and this is a Disney film, and you had to get Sega on board because it's not just like, it's not parody, like it's the actual, it's basically the actual character, which is wild. It's just insane that everyone said, yes, we agree to this, instead of how dare you bring this thing that caused us so much grief and cost us so much money. But ultimately, I guess it's like, you know, you made the right decision in changing him, because watching this, I was going, imagine if the Sonic movie still had this character in it, because it's not often that I say that it is truly disturbing to look at. Every time he talks, I'm like, there's something fundamentally wrong with every single part of him.
Yeah, it's crazy that they did. It's one of those things, right? When the internet backlashes against something like the Mass Effect ending or anything, usually they're the bad guys, right? Usually you're like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, just let things be things. But like, this is probably the one historical thing where the internet has been really right about something. Because like, if you think about it, the Sonic movie was such a dramatic success, like box office, even critically, they're both great movies, especially the first one. And that would not have been the case if this character had been in that movie. The movie would have failed. It would have made less money. Like, everyone won from an internet backlash.
No kid wants this toy.
No.
And it's so funny as well, because it's like, it is just going, you've just, like, the film would have been exactly the same film. It just would have had this one different looking, like, they didn't change any dialogue, we think. Like, everything seems to be exactly the same. And it's like, you could have you had this really good thing, and just by changing this one part of it, you could have made it awful, but not actually fundamentally changing anything particularly meaningful about the film. So it is amazing in this, and also like the idea in this as well is that Ugly Sonic has got a TV show. He rides along with cops, and it's a reality show called Ugly Sonic: Uglier Crimes. And
it's such a good use. It's such a good use of it. I could totally see the internet now falling in love with this guy. You know, it didn't work. It didn't work when it was taking itself seriously as Sonic, but embracing Ugly Sonic, I'm pretty sure they've put like red kind of droopy bags around his eyes. They've like manipulated him a little bit to lean harder. He's got a dad bod. He's got dad bod. He's got the like cowboy jacket and sunnies on the head. Like, you could make and this is probably a bad example, but Ted, that Seth MacFarlane film with the live action and the teddy bear. It's like, this character would work live action next to Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, he should make an Ugly Sonic movie.
I was going to say
100%.
In a cynical world, this will be successful and viral enough that they go, we're going to commission like adult, like an what's the there was something, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I mean, you're right, Pete, like Ted's a good shout of like an adult
Howard
animation.
The Duck. Do you mean Howard the Duck or something like that?
Like Howard the Duck. Let's make a film as successful as Howard the Duck. But the I also just love like that you can see at the bottom left there his little like glamour shot where he's lying down. Like, all of this has now completely endeared me to what this character is. So yeah, this was a great choice. You're right. Everybody wins. It's the only time in the last 10 years that on the internet everyone is happy. And it's lovely. That's a very good pick. It's a low key, like, there were quite a bit of game stories that came out this week, but I agree that this is the one that, like, in a year's time, we'll still remember this one. We're not going to remember that potentially EA were maybe going to be sold to somebody else. We are going to remember Ugly Sonic because there will be a film of Ugly Sonic in a year because of this moment. All right, Pete, talk to me about your story. What caught your eye this week?
Okay, I'll go first. We have a lawsuit out of where is it? Arizona, I think. Of a father attempting a class action lawsuit against Hearthstone maker Blizzard after his daughter secretly spent more than $300 on card packs without getting all the cards they wanted. So this is not a new thing, the loot box drama. But I wanted to bring it up because it's again, not uncommon, and I'm with two dads. I wanted to find out if you guys have experienced this kind of thing, because I've only ever heard stories about it, and I do think that they're quite insidious, loot boxes. I have definitely bought them in the past, and it always feels like kiddies first gambling. Has your take on it changed as parents?
Mark, you go first.
I was going to say, I don't know if your kids are old enough to like do this kind of thing, but my kids definitely are. So my oldest kid has already twice bought stuff using and with in-game currency, or spent real money on in-game currency twice without my permission, and it's just really way too easy for them to do it. If me, I'm pretty technically savvy dad. Like, I know how games work. I know how Roblox works and Minecraft and all that shit. If I've let my kids do it by accident, like, how often does this happen? It must happen all the time. Happened on Roblox and happened on Minecraft. Thankfully, both those games, well, Roblox is shit, but Minecraft is, it's not as bad as like the loot box situation, but they're still finding it really easy to do this. I hate it. I hate the whole thing. The loot box thing I probably know less about and think less about, because I don't really let my kid play games that have those things yet. Mm-hmm. But that's in the works. Like, I'm probably going to let my kid play Fortnite pretty soon, and he'll probably want to get into Overwatch at some point during the future. Yeah, it stresses me out. I don't really know what else to say about it, to be honest, but the whole thing pisses me off.
I mean, my kids are younger than yours, but I mean, my son is so technically savvy that when he was in the womb, he somehow managed to purchase $8,000 worth of Hearthstone cards on my account. Yeah. I don't know how he did that. And it was going on even before we knew we were going to have a kid. Really? So he could traverse space and time. Yeah. Wow. But look, the only time I've run into this is that a couple of weeks ago I walked into the room and Banjo was buying the Batman on iTunes, and I just walked in and he clicked purchase, and I dove across the room to grab the remote, and it was too late. But that was fun. They just get a refund. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna need to start putting some child locks on this stuff. It's interesting. This, starting a class action lawsuit, whether or not this gains any traction, because it feels like this sort of thing has been going on for so long. Yeah. That if there was a chance that this could happen, even though I do think that it is insidious. The loop, I hate loot boxes, random chance things. I do think that parental controls on things are pretty good now.
Apparently there's none in Hearthstone, which is kind of where this is coming from.
Yeah, okay, true. Well, then he's totally right that there's none in Hearthstone, and he's right that it's incredibly easy to buy cards, and he's also right that it's the fucking chance of getting the card you want is near to none. So yeah, I think there should be a lawsuit. And really, if ever there was a time to sue Activision Blizzard, I think right now is probably the opportunity, because their best lawyers are probably distracted with something else, and you can get some of the late clerks who just started working there.
It's funny, just around this. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, it would be good if something like this, like just some random class action lawsuit, ended up setting some sort of precedent that completely revolutionized how these things work. I was just thinking, imagine that happened and it changed the entire way the games industry works. It would be wild. And I hope
well, it's interesting. I think the states consider loot boxes the Gambling Association in America considers loot boxes to be gambling.
Yeah.
In Australia, the Gaming Commission doesn't, and gaming being gambling, and I think in the UK as well. So that I remember we got shouted out, and it's in this piece as well by the ABC that they did like an explainer about loot boxes a couple of years ago for like people who aren't in the scene at all. But EA's communications and marketing director, I think it was, shouted out Australia and the United Kingdom for saying, "Oh no, but the gaming commissions down there don't consider it gambling, so we agree with them." In a US court. So yeah, I mean, there was a push in 2019, I think, from the coalition in Australia to review the rating system to include things like, to modernize it, to include better ratings classification for things like depictions of suicide and violence against women, and loot boxes were involved in that as well. I think they wanted to better clarify that there was gambling, or I don't think they could call it gambling because the whatever commissions weren't agreeing that it was gambling, but to clarify that there was a microtransaction system built into a game in the classification system. Nothing happened after that review, except that a month ago the coalition brought it up again in the campaign. Yeah, while they were kind of petitioning to take governance again, but they failed.
And I feel like loot boxes are a thing. I think that it was a few years ago there was huge talk about it. I feel like they've dropped off from the majority of big games, and Coastal City in chat nailed it, which I think is, I feel like battle passes are the new loot boxes, where they've gone, we could do kind of the same thing, which is like, you give us money and all you need to do is play the game a lot to get this stuff. But by playing the game a lot, you're probably going to buy more things in game, or you're going to buy the currency to get through the battle pass faster. Yeah. The problem with games like Hearthstone is it's actually built into the core, the fundamental core of the game is it's a collectible card game. Yeah. You have to buy this shit in order to do it. And even that has sort of fallen off. Like I feel like only card games can get away with this anymore. And you look at like in FIFA, the only way it works in FIFA, it's still a card game in FIFA. It's still like you're unlocking these like card things to be able to add to your team. So once that ends, then that's probably the end of it. But it's definitely now the battle pass thing is 100% the way that they're getting your more consistent money.
For sure.
Well, it's appropriate then that we were talking about Hearthstone, because my story of the week is very much a me story. This is like a game for me, and that is Ben Brode, who was the creative director of Hearthstone for many years before he left to start a new studio called Second Dinner, and said he was working on a new card game, has revealed it over the weekend, and it is called Marvel Snap. It is a mobile-first game, so it's not exclusive to mobile phones, but it is launching there, and there's going to be a PC beta as the game launches worldwide as well. And it is a card game built around the Marvel franchise, where you sort of draft a bunch of Marvel heroes. The mechanic of the game, I'll see if I can explain it very simply. It's much faster than traditional card games, which is the point of what they were trying to build. The idea is that you have 3 locations on the board, and you want to capture 2 locations by putting your cards down at those spots, and the cumulative power of those cards, whoever has more power at each one of those locations wins that spot. And you play it in 6 turns. The interesting thing that they've added to this as well, which I think is like, card games aren't for everybody. I love card games, and Brode just has such a great mind for the things that make them really fun. I've interviewed him a couple of times. He is so switched on and smart, and the thing that he's done here is that he has removed the other player's turn. So you both play at exactly the same time, and your turns resolve at the same time. So there's no waiting for the other person to play. So it's always your turn. And the games are only 6 turns long, so they only last about 3 minutes, which is perfect for a phone situation. And the depth is totally there from the gameplay reveal that they've shown. I'm looking at it going, this is all the stuff that I love about games like Hearthstone and Magic and Gwent and Legends of Runeterra and all the fucking shit that I've put way too much money into. Except this is not a collectible game in that sort of way. You can unlock all the cards in the game for free just by playing. And each week they're going to be adding new cards and new locations to be able to go through and sort of like keep the game fresh. And I'm sure there'll be new modes and that sort of thing. The one thing that I'm a little lukewarm on is the idea that it's a Marvel game, because I'm very exhausted by Marvel, and I think I would prefer it to be non-IP'd or an IP owned by someone else. But I do think the art on the cards looks phenomenal. Like they all look like old comic book covers, and it looks dope. But I was so excited by this. It was my kid's birthday party over the weekend, and this was still the best thing that happened to me over the week. Like it was just I'm so psyched, and I'm mainly just happy to see Ben Brode back. That's the whole reason that I'm excited for this. His studio, he basically poached all the top people who made Hearthstone the game it was 5 years ago and started a new company. And the game that Hearthstone is now, which is just like refusing to give you a financial break and continuing to just like be a broken meta, is all these people have gone and they're making their own thing, and I'm super psyched about it. Cyril, do you have any interest in card games? Do you have any interest in Marvel? Have I just bored you for the last 2 minutes?
No, I mean, look, I find it interesting from a top level view, like in terms of like how they're using the license. And I don't play many card games. My kid collects Pokemon cards, which is funny. I was just thinking about that connected to the last story. Like Pokemon cards are basically real life loot boxes.
Totally.
But yeah, I hope it does well. And to your point about it being a Marvel thing, I think it's such a massive, massive risk to launch any video game, let alone a card game.
Yeah.
I think the fact that it's a Marvel license is really, I think it just gives them like a 70% more chance of this thing being a thing and taking off. And I think that's probably...
It's going to be like featured on the app stores as like a promoted sort of thing. Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. I'm sure it's expensive for that license. But I think in the end, they've got the right person working on the right license. It could be a thing, and I hope it is a thing.
Totally. And yeah, I agree. I think like I would not look at it twice if it didn't have Marvel attached, because I'm not interested in card games. So the fact that there is a big IP means that it's going to reach a bunch of people who might only play it once and go like, oh, this game isn't for me, but I loved the look of it. It's like it's getting people through the downloading the app, which I think is going to be the hardest part of selling a card game in 2022. And yeah, like it just is such a natural fit as well. Like if you think about if they'd paid for the Star Wars license, so it's like, oh, okay, you can have a Jedi and a smuggler, and it's like they're less interesting cards to put on a board, whereas like superheroes can be anything. So they have like these special people that work in special ways, and it makes sense on the card, as opposed to like, oh, Han Solo fought Darth Vader and won kind of thing. Like it's like, okay, whatever. That's so weird.
And he did say in an interview that that obviously all the big Marvel characters are in there, but one of the first things they did when they got the license was he went and bought all the comics and a Marvel encyclopedia. And so they went, well, we're going to design a bunch of mechanics and then just flick through this encyclopedia and find a character that fits the mechanic that they want to use, which I think is a good way to go about it, of going like, we just want to make a cool base game, but because there's 4 billion Marvel characters, you can kind of always find someone that's going to be like appropriate for the thing you want to do, which is cool. And then the final thing on this, which I think is, like obviously at the moment so many studios are getting acquired and so many companies being bought. There is and I think a really important conversation about how much the games industry gets homogenized or controlled by only a few companies. You look at something like Game Pass, which we all love, but at the same time, like how many companies do you want Xbox to be owning? One of the advantages to it is something, even though this isn't exactly what happened with Broad, when these companies get bought, generally the top talent there have to stay for like a year or two in order to be like fulfill contractual obligations. But then they have got a big payout because they have stock, which is what Broad totally would have had in Blizzard, and then be able to sell that and start your own company. And I think it's really exciting. Like, I got really excited when Broad launched Second Dinner because I was like, oh, cool, you're going to go off and make something new. And I think that's something we're going to see over the next few years is so many developers who have been working at these companies that we love, who have been making great games, who've been bought by even bigger companies, are going to continue making those games for a couple of years, and then they're all going to splinter off and start these small studios and have a bunch of new ideas. So I think that for me, I've been tracking this one for a while, but like in 3 or 4 years' time, I think we're going to see so many people leaving Microsoft in a really positive way with a bunch of money to start new studios and start these sort of like, we're going to start a new little dream project. And I think that's really exciting to see. So I'm really hoping that this works out for Broad. There's an Android beta launching really soon, which sucks because I have a iPhone, but I'm just going to run an emulator on my laptop because I'm pathetic. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. And that's one stop short of going and buying an Android phone just so I can play the beta of a fucking free-to-play card game. Oh, I hate myself. Okay, good. Before we move on, some announcements and delays this week. Announcements-wise, Roller Champions. The delayed, oft-forgotten game is happening. It's launching free-to-play on May 25th on PC, PS4, and PS5, Xbox One, and Series X, and it will be coming out on Nintendo Switch, Stadia, and Amazon Luna at a later date. I mean, if there's anything consistent about Ubisoft, it's that if there is a marketplace, they will put their game there. Like, it's probably launching on Etsy at some point this year as well. It is wild, the services that they are a part of. Hooked on You is a Dead by Daylight dating sim that got announced that lets you romance Dead by Daylight's murder husbandos and waifus. And it's slated to launch this summer on Steam. And Norman Reedus seemingly confirmed Death Stranding 2 in an interview.
Did you not see this, Mark?
Did you not see this?
No, I saw it.
So he was being asked about Death Stranding or what it was like making the game, and he said, quote, "It took me maybe 2 or 3 years to finish all the mocap sessions and everything. It takes a lot of work, and then the game came out, and it just won all these awards, and it was a huge thing, so we just started part 2 of that." And, like, God bless the actors who just have no conceptual understanding of
thank you. That's
context and, yeah.
Kojima,
What do you think of Death
Kojima tweeted at Reedus today as well and said something along the lines of "get back to the private room" or something, translated to something like that. So it's pretty much confirmed that they're working together.
Amazing.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Death Stranding was. I had to review Death Stranding for seeing it, and it was one of the toughest reviews. Like, I never anticipated it was such a long game. It's such a grindy game. I think reviewing it really impacted my opinion of it. By the end of the game, I was like, "This fucking game sucks, bro." Like, I was like,
I feel the same. I didn't review it, and I feel the same.
Pete, to be fair, you felt like that in the first hour.
I played like 6 hours of it, and I was like, "This is the game." Okay.
Yeah, I think the first 12 hours of that game are a tremendous grind. After that, when it gets better and it gets more interesting and some of the ideas start to connect. But the people who are out there, like, there's people who adore this game. There's people out there who are obsessed with it. And I don't understand those people.
We work with one of them. Gus. Gus is disgusting.
Yeah, one of the people, someone on my team, it's like their top 5 game of all time. Like, they think it's the best Kojima game. Like, because I love Kojima. I'm a massive Kojima fanboy. True story. I went to a review event for Metal Gear Solid 4 in Japan at like Konami's secret like Bond villain lair, and it was fucking crazy. Like, we were in this like crazy like circular table where laptops came out the table like. Oh
my god!
And at the end of it, I mean, Hideo Kojima was there the whole time. I actually have peed next to him.
Did he come out of the table as well? Because that's on brand.
That would have been amazing. He's actually just a hologram in the middle of the table. But actually,
you got to urinate next to him
twice, more than once, twice. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was because we had to wear all these like Japanese style slippers. And as I was peeing at the urinal, I just heard this like shuffling feet, shuffle, 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 shuffle. And I turned around and it's Hideo Kojima, and he's like, and he's at the urinal next to me, and we're just peeing together. Magical moment, one of the best moments of my life. Peeing next to Kojima. But another cool thing that happened during that event was we were all in this big, beautiful space playing the game, and I was near the end. And you know how like Metal Gear Solid had all these like different masks you could put on Snake, Metal Gear Solid 4, sorry, and one of them was like a pixelated like Snake from PlayStation 1 Snake, Metal Gear Solid 1, and I put it on. I was playing it with him. And the cutscene was on, and it was pixelated Snake, and I'm just playing the game, like, and I just hear this little.
And that was the second time he peed next to you.
And Hideo Kojima was actually standing with his dick out peeing on my chair.
Incredible.
I turned around and it was Hideo Kojima watching me play with pixelated Solid Snake. It was one of the craziest times. So I'm a massive, massive fan, and the reason I love Metal Gear Solid is just all the options and how in depth the games get with the systems. I just felt like Death Stranding wasn't at that level, and I kind of didn't like the game that much. Anyway, that was a long-winded story.
No. So, but what was the second time you peed next to him? It's weird that you synced up 2 times.
Nah, and that's the thing. It wasn't at the same event. I peed next to him at E3 a year after. At the Ubisoft conference, Ubisoft press conference.
At the Ubisoft conference?
Yeah, the press conference. Just before I went in to sit down, I'm just standing. I was bursting. And I'm just standing there like, oh, thank Christ. I get to pee before this 2-hour event. And again, Hideo Kojima to my right, he's taking a leak. So I've peed next to him.
And you can't have a relaxing wee next to Kojima.
No, well,
you just wanted to unleash.
I'm not one of those guys that gets stage fright, so I was totally fine with it. But yeah, 2 times.
What are the astronomical chances that a Scottish man who lives in Australia pees next to the same Japanese man in 2 different countries? That like the odds are.
Yeah. It's never happened before.
It's literally, and it will never happen again. It will never ever happen again in the history of the planet.
Yep.
I hope that you get to pee next to Kojima again one more time.
Honestly, if we pee next to each other again, I think some sort of crazy fucking portal's going to just open in the world.
That's going to be the second coming of Christ. That is the holy trinity of urine.
Yeah.
If you pee next to Kojima again, that is how Keeley got his cameo in Death Stranding. Like, that's how you get in one of his games.
I should be in Death Stranding, like taking a leak.
You should be.
Absolutely should be.
You drink too many fucking Monster Energy drinks, and Norman Reedus goes for a pee, and Cyril's is just standing next to you, and is always just going, Amazing. Okay, cool. We're going to make that happen. Someone clip this and send it to Kojima. Okay, and then in terms of delays this week, we also got Kerbal Space Program 2, which has been repeatedly delayed. It got unveiled in 2019. Has been delayed yet again and is now expected to arrive in early 2023 on PC with a console release to follow later that year. It was supposed to come out this year, but they keep pushing it back. There was an interview with one of the devs saying, like, this game is just beyond complicated. So we will see it at some point, but we're not going to see it this year. And that is literally all the video game news that happened this week. There's nothing else you need to know.